everyone. Welcome back to the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston subdivision in beautiful HO Scale. My name is Daryl Cruz, owner and builder of the layout, and your host for another exciting update. I took a week off last week, so it's been 2 weeks since I've updated anything, and I hope that you are happy with what has been accomplished in the last 2 weeks. Mainly, I did this in the last week. Basically took a week off of everything there for a while, but got back into it and made quite a bit of progress here at the Devil's Slide Control Point and Holcim Cement area. Make sure you subscribe and like this video. Hit the notification bell so you know when different videos are being updated. All right, so this is how things looked since the last update. I had all the cardboard forms in and ready to go. The piers were all in and ready for some plaster and some ground foam and color. And plastering is one of the messier aspects of model railroading. Not really my favorite thing to do. I do like it because it makes a big difference, but it is kind of a painful process and messy process, and I'm not the neatest guy to begin with, so it's a double whammy for me. Before I got to the plaster, though, one thing I always try to do is to cover the cardboard forms with some rosin paper. This helps the plaster gauze hang more evenly so that when you have the plaster on, you cannot see the grid format of the cardboard webbing. This is just wanted to show you how this all takes place. Now, this was a little bit hard because it's a long reach, plus I had to kind of duck under the upper level. But if you, as you can see, I just put a bead of hot glue on the back one there and basically just got a line of glue in the back edge of this piece done. I basically just cut this wider than what I was going to need, because the whole idea is to get it down on the forms, and then once you have it down, to basically cut everything out. And I'm not going to show you all of what I did, but just wanted to show you this little bit here so you kind of get an idea how it goes down and how everything kind of works out. This whole process of putting the cardboard forms in and then also putting the rosin paper on the cardboard fans takes a lot of hot glue. I usually buy the 24 packs at Joann Fabrics or someplace like that, and I go through almost all 24. I think I have like 6 left. But as you can see, it's all down, and now I kind of feel where the wood is and underneath it. And sometimes I just kind of will press against it, and you kind of get a line in the paper. You can kind of see where it is, but basically you just cut along the dividing point, and then it comes right off. And if you notice, I have a little bit there in the back that had to fold up, so I'm cutting that without cutting the backdrop, and voila, you have the rosin paper down. So it's not very difficult. It goes pretty quickly. So here you can see I first did the sections around the Devil's Slide control point. And I do have the signals turned on, but I made sure that the track was turned off. Did not want to short out the signals. But here you can see how it all fits in. Definitely looks more like land with it covered rather than just the cardboard forms, as you can see here. Now before I put the rest of the paper on this area, I needed to first of all make sure I had all the abutments in correctly. So I went ahead and I had these abutments for the trestle bridge glued to the bridge, but I instead then glued them to the track, and then I needed to work on these abutments here. So before I put in the cardboard, or excuse me, the rosin paper around this area, I needed to put the abutments in afterwards, or first. And I just used some .125 styrene, which is pretty thick styrene. But I wanted to make it look like thick concrete because the edges of this plastic will be showing. So I wanted to use something very thick, and I just cut it to fit over the wood. So a lot of measuring and kind of holding the styrene up against the form and getting an idea what the different angles are. And then here you can see I have it all together. And here it looks kind of crude because the lines aren't cut exactly straight, and you can see the division between all the pieces and so forth. So right now it looks pretty crude, but it is designed so that the deck girder bridges here will kind of fit right in there. That's kind of how it is on the prototype, and I did take quite a bit of time looking at the prototype pictures, and this is not an exact replica, but it comes pretty close. Now here you can see a little difference, and I used some plastic putty and filled in all the different areas and then sanded everything down. I actually sanded it a little bit more after this, but I definitely makes it look more like solid concrete rather than different pieces of plastic. And I also sanded. Now here I did not sand these corners, but if you look at the other abutment, you can see that the edges are a little bit not as sharp because I sanded the edges, the corners also, to make it more rounded, so it looks like concrete, not a square piece of plastic. All right, so once I got that done, then I went ahead and put the rest of the paper down. And here you can kind of see how this was took a little bit longer because used a lot of little pieces of paper to fit underneath the highway bridge and around all the piers. And then you had that little gap here between the main line and the road and so forth. So you had to kind of cut paper to fit there. So when you have a little different or more complicated area, take smaller pieces of rosin paper. I bought one roll of rosin paper for $15 at Home Depot. Here's how I'm going to have a retaining wall. But I still have a lot left from that one roll. So this rosin paper does not cost a lot. So I'm going to end up doing the whole layout with this rosin paper and still have some left over from the original $15 roll. All right, everything is ready to go. Before I started the plaster, I decided I was going to paint all the track. Now, usually I paint the track after the plaster, but this time I decided to go ahead and paint it before the plaster, and then I've decided I'm only going to tape it down once. And as you can see, also I have the paper around the signals so that they don't get anything on them. But I decided I would go ahead and paint it first and then tape it all down. Here you can see where the how the bridge railings are going to go for the highway. And here you can see the paint's still a little wet, a little shiny. I used camouflage paint by Rust-Oleum. Used their khaki for the side of the rails and then dark brown for the ties and did that from straight down. So now I have it all taped, and I will a lot of times tape it um, twice, and I decided I'm just going to tape it down once. So I painted the track, and then I put the masking tape over it. I decided I was going to leave the masking tape on there. I used a whole roll of masking tape, mainly because I had just the thin stuff, so it took a little bit longer. But I decided I was going to tape it down, and I was going to do the plaster, and then also do the painting and ground foam all in one step, or all before taking the tape off. So usually I would take the tape up in between and then put it back down again. So I would tape it down, do the plaster, take the tape off, paint the track, put the tape back down again, and then do the painting and ground foam. So I decided I'd just kind of see if I could expedite that a little bit. Here's the needed ingredients: a cup of coffee. I did this in the morning. Lots of fine turf yellow grass, and then also green grass and burnt grass. Then from there, after that, I put on coarse turf. So the layers of different thickness of materials, and then underbrush after that, and then also some ballast for different areas. There's going to be a lot of ballast around the Holcim cement area, but I haven't done that just yet. The one thing that's not shown here is the clump foliage, which is the last layer I put on. Here you can see I do have it all plastered. The paint I'm using is just the cheapest paint I could find, and it is Sonoran Desert is the color by Bear. I think that's Bear paint, so Sonoran Desert. So I went ahead and did this all, painted everything, put on the different layers of ground foam with the finest, and then the coarse. Here's the paint I decided to use, although as you'll see, it's not quite green enough. But anyway, put the fine down first, then coarse turf, then underbrush, and then clump foliage. So you kind of work with the finest and working to coarser and underbrush and clump foliage, and end up with something that looks something like this. And the whole idea is to kind of blend it in so it has somewhat of the same colors as the backdrop does. So I think it looks pretty good. As I said, it's very messy. Definitely had a lot of plaster going off the side and dripping off of things. When I do the plaster, I put the plaster cloth on first, and then I paint it with 50-50 water and plaster mixture with a paintbrush. That's where it gets really messy. I'm going to try to change the color a little bit over by the Holcim cement area there. A lot more sand and gravelly areas there. But here's how things looked at first. I now have the track ends and the bridges in. And if you notice, I did paint the river. This is like, I think it's chestnut gray or something like that from Lowe's. I just buy the sample bottles. They're like $5. This one looked really, it matches the river and the backdrop pretty good, but it's too gray and not enough green. So I don't think I'm going to use this. I like it in that it matches up with the backdrop pretty well, but it just doesn't look green enough. Here's where I'm going to have a lot of ballast and gravel where the Holcim cement is. So this is kind of how things look. What I have to do yet on this area is, of course, ballasting. That's going to be my main job for this coming week. putting in the ballast, and then lots of ballast around Holcim cement. And then I have to do the highway there. That's going to go up towards Echo, and we'll follow the main line through Echo Canyon. We'll also need to weather the bridges. Haven't done any of that. This area here looks pretty cool. I got to put the railings and do some work on that highway bridge also. That's going to look pretty cool, I think. That road there, I need to do something with those little gaps. Not sure how. I think I might put some cardboard in there. But here you can see kind of how it all looks. And then this is the last section I have to do. That's going to be Echo Canyon on the lower level. And then West Vaco Trona Mine up on the upper level. I might try to grade this up a little bit, especially towards by the river. Down by the Devil's Slide control points, the backdrop is pretty green, but here the backdrop's kind of a little more sandy color, so I might try to sand it up a little bit in color so it matches a little bit better. But overall, I think it looks pretty good. You notice I just painted the fascia. It's still a little wet. Got the skirting back up again. So this is kind of how it looks today. I also need to put trees up. We'll need to be hiding some of the seams. So that will be my main task in this next week, is getting everything ballasted, putting some trees up, and maybe doing some work on the river a little bit. Maybe change the color. We'll probably also be doing some weathering on the bridges. This all looks pretty cool, I have to say. These engines coming down the hill have their dynamic brakes on, if you're wondering what that sound is. Bridges are definitely pretty cool. I really like the three main bridges that I have. There are three sets of bridges, three crossings of the Weber River. This is the third crossing. So counting the spur track, there's actually 7 bridges, 7 crossings. But that's where things stand. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. I have some more videos coming up. Going to be doing a bunch of reviews on doing some decoder reviews and lots of other interesting things. I hope you definitely make it a point to stay tuned. I think I'm going to be doing some more videos during the week as well. We'll just see how things go. But I'm really excited about doing these reviews coming up. I'm going to be putting in some ESU decoders and changing things up a bit on my motive power. So again, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Everybody have a great week. Take care, everyone.